Check, check. 1, 2. Check, check. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. 1, 2. Check, check. Let me see. Check, 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 check. Yeah, it's check, 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 check.
Test, test, test. Check, check. Test, test. Test, 1, 2. Test, test. Huh? That's a lot better, huh? Yeah. Nice. Test, test. Test, 1, 2. Test, test. Test, test, 1, 2. Test, test, test. It's better, huh?
Yeah, because it's right now it's all the way up, so it's gonna.
Oh, it's because you put the gain up, huh?
Yeah, so it should be fine.
You wanna move it down for a bit, and then when we test.
I'll move it like 10 gain.
Oh, okay. Hey, dude, it's playing back.
Huh?
It's playing back on the computer.
The audio?
Yeah, on the PC. Oh, it's because it has to be muted, huh? Sarah's PC.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard myself. I was like, what the?
Oh yeah, we need to tell her right not to mute it.
Yeah, she logged out though. Okay. Test, 1, 2. Test, test. Test, 1, 2. Test, test. 1, 2, 3.
That's good.
1, 2, 3. Check, check. It's a little buzzy, but check, check, check. It's kind of overmodulated.
There it is. Yay!
Okay, my clock says 6 o'clock, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. We're glad you joined us here. Tonight is Wednesday, November 17th, and it is 6:01. I'm going to call the regular meeting to order. Mr. City Attorney, do we have anything to report out of closed session, sir?
Mr. Mayor, there were no reportable actions in closed session tonight. I do want to mention, however, that for the second closed session, neither Councilmember Leesmeyer nor Councilmember Harwin participated.
Okay, thank you for that update. We are now on item 2, which is roll call. So, Madam Clerk, would you call roll, please?
Councilmember Dynas?
Here.
Councilmember Carwin?
Here.
Councilmember Leesmeyer? Here. Mayor Pro Tem Sobek?
Here.
And Mayor Zimmerman.
And I'm here, thank you. And I believe we have Pastor Rocky Stone from Sandals Church here with us. He is one of our chaplains for our law enforcement. Thank you for being part of the team, and thank you for coming tonight for words of inspiration.
Love being with you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and the rest of the City Council, and the rest of the team here. I think I've said it every time. I love being a member of this community, a citizen of this town. This is just a wonderful place to be. And so I wanted to read a verse, or actually just a part of a verse, and then just pray over it, if that's all right. It's from Proverbs 29:18, and it says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." And I've just been thinking so much about the vision that this council has so clearly chartered for the rest of the town, and how you're driving forward and moving quickly, and all the different things that you have been accomplishing, and that the city has been coming along on the ride many times with. And I'm just thankful for a group of leaders that have a clear vision, a clear direction, that you know where you're going and where you're taking us. And it's just as a member of this community, I feel like I'm in good hands as I follow you, and I'm led by this team. So thank you, and let me pray. Father God, thank you so much for this team, God, for this community, for this wonderful city that you've allowed us to live in, to work for. God, where you're allowing families to prosper, God, where wonderful things are happening, God, where community is being built, where friendships are being formed. God, and where this town is growing at what seems like breakneck speed sometimes. Lord, I pray over our council, over our, Lord, all the various department heads and managers, and Lord, just all of the teams that make our city run. God, would you continue to fill them with wisdom, God, with an amazing work ethic that continues to push our city forward, God, with just great plans and visions about not just how to grow our city and make it bigger and make it more successful, Lord, but continually, how does this city benefit the people that live here? How do we embrace families? How do we just come alongside the people that are here and create an amazing place for them to live, Lord, and place for them to grow up and raise families and do life? God, thank you again for this team, Lord. Please fill them with wisdom, God, with amazing foresight, Lord, and do great things through them. Jesus, we love you. We pray all this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. We appreciate everything that Sandals Church does in our community as well. All right, we are now going to go to our Pledge of Allegiance. In the audience today, we have a gentleman who is a military veteran, and he serves on our Measure DD committee, Mr. Ed Samuelson. Ed, would you lead us in the flag salute tonight? All right, thank you. Okay, we're on item 5. This is presentation, and we have an outstanding citizen of the month that we're going to be honoring, Mr. Ryan Sharp. I see him back in the back. So, council members, if you'd join us in the front, and Ryan, would you join us as well, please? Check, there we go. All right, so how many of you know Pastor Ryan Sharp, Impact Church? Yes. As you all know, each month we select and council members rotate and we select a citizen of the month. And this month's choice was Councilman Dean Dinas. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to him to share why he chose Pastor Ryan Sharp.
Well, I appreciate the time. Whoops, sorry about that. Take out the mayor here. Mayor Pro Tem. You're welcome. No, you know, as we look at our citizens here, you know, we say outstanding citizen. We think we're all outstanding citizens, but there's a lot of those that volunteer their time and effort. You know, some see a need and fill that need as a volunteer. Some a call goes out and that volunteer will step up to fill that need. And sometimes you get a volunteer that can be a leader and get others volunteered. And that's what I was looking for, and I think I found the right person. You know, he's on the board for the Boys and Girls Club. You know, his church Impact, but the church Impact pastors. Once a year comes out, instead of having a church service, has a Serve This City. And they're out here helping all of the community to better it. And last but not least, he's also chaplain. I almost said Army chaplain for my time, but the police chaplain. You know, and that's important to know because I know Rocky over here is in the same things. Is, you know, that goes unsaid a lot of times because the chaplains usually are called out when there's a tragedy or a crisis. And that's a heck of a thing to volunteer for. And for that, I wanted to recognize Ryan for that. No, I better not.
Smart. Yeah, believe it or not, I don't have anything prepared here, but you are living on the edge, giving a pastor a microphone. No, truly, thank you so much. I mean, it is nice having something to hold over Rocky's head. That's a huge plus. And also just recognizing that awards really, they're only as significant as the people you're receiving them from, right? And as you look at this community and the leadership that is continually raised up in the city of Menifee, it makes me very proud, knowing especially that this is an award for Impact Church every bit as much as for me. So privileged to pastor it. Thank you guys so much for thinking of me, and it's an honor. Grateful.
So Ryan, we have a nice certificate here, Outstanding Citizen of the Month. It says, in recognition of your passion to serve your community through the Boys and Girls Club, and you and I serve on that board, and thank you for, you guys may not know, he's one of the inaugural members of that board to start that Boys and Girls Club about 6 years ago, right? And it's just been incredible. And also your church, as you mentioned, the Serve This City event that you do, and you're out cleaning up and doing all those. And how many did you have serve at the last one?
Pushing up, it was about a little over 300.
300 people out in our community on a Sunday morning. Instead of church service, they went out and cleaned. And then finally, to provide valuable comfort and assistance to our Menifee Police Department as a chaplain. So with that, this is for you. And every time you see it, I hope it reminds you of this great night that we're doing. And thank you again for your service. Appreciate it. Congratulations. Anyone who's here supporting Ryan, come on up and let's do a friends and family. My parents showed up for tonight. Okay, good. So Ryan, your mom and dad are here. Can you tell us who they are?
Yes, this is my mom, Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Anything to say, Mom?
Nice to see you.
Anything to say? Okay. My wife, Tracy, I won't put the microphone in her face. She'll kill me. And my dad, Monty Sharp, who's also in ministry down in the Temecula area. So, yeah.
Let's do a group photo.
All right. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Perfect.
And once again, let's congratulate our Citizen of the Month. Well done. Okay, next up is item 5.2, and this is our community services update. Let's see, who do we have from community services that's going to give us our update tonight?
Miss Mariana Mitchell is coming to the podium to provide that update this.
Hi, welcome, Mariana.
Thank you. Good evening. So it's my pleasure again to bring forward our update to kind of go over the last month of community services. I'm going to talk briefly about some of our special events that happened over the last couple weeks. So it was a pleasure to host our annual Veterans Day ceremony back out at Wheatfield Park. It was very well attended. And again, it was a great opportunity. We thank our mayor and council members that were able to join us to honor our veterans here in Menifee. Shortly afterwards, we had our bulky item drop-off event that was located in 2 locations in the city of Menifee, one being at MSJC, Mount San Jacinto College, and the second being at Sun City Civic Association. So that was this Saturday, and we were excited to see how well attended it was. Everybody was coming out ready to go, and we actually ended up filling up 4 diversion bins and 2 front loaders at the Sun City Civic Association location by about 11 a.m. and MSJC was able to go until just about noon, filling up approximately 6 different diversion bins. So those are the bins that divert alternative materials to be recycled, and then our front loaders that collect bulk items that can just go to the landfill. So that was great to be able to offer that. Next, we've got our upcoming events that we've kind of been promoting for the last couple months. I'm just going to highlight a few items on this one. The first one is going to be the free Thanksgiving meal. That is an annual event we're excited to bring back in person at the San Jacinto Senior Center. This is hosted by the Menifee Interfaith Community Services Council. We do have 3 seatings. There is plenty of room available, so we encourage anybody who is looking to have a warm meal, wanting to come out and socialize, please make your reservation by calling the San Jacinto Senior Center. They'll be sure to get you in any one of these seatings. And then also it's important to note that first responders are welcome to come anytime throughout the day. So if anybody's out there, come on down. We welcome everybody. The next thing I want to highlight is that we do have our tree lighting ceremony that is coming up on Saturday, December 4th. We are still accepting parade applications. So if you know of any organizations or groups that would like to be highlighted, be a part of this event, we do encourage them to fill out parade applications that are still being accepted through the end of this week, so November 19th. And then last, just wanted to make sure our public is aware that our ever popular Breakfast with Santa is filling up quick. We've got 3 separate seatings. 2 of those 3 are already full. So we have 15 spots available in the 8 a.m. session. So if you're interested in that, we encourage you to log on, sign up online through Dash, or come and visit us at our main office at the located next to the San Jacinto Senior Center. Next, I'd like to highlight that we have a couple items that we're looking for public input. We have been working with the Riverside County Transportation of Commission, RCTC, and the City of Menifee to kind of identify where our transportation needs are for not just our seniors, but our disabled population and Menifee residents in general. So after 3 months of working together on identifying stakeholders, figuring out what our next best steps might be, we've come up with a mobility survey. So this survey is now live. It is at menifee.us/mobility survey. And anybody can follow this link, answer a few questions, kind of give us an idea of where people need to get to and why it's difficult to get there. So for us, this will be important in identifying what best modes of transportation or services might be best fit for our community. For those that may not have access to a computer or would prefer to come in person, you can always fill out, or residents can fill out this information either in person at the San Jacinto Senior Center or give us a call, and staff will be happy to walk through the survey over the phone as well. So we're trying to reach out to as many people as possible. Again, this just went live this afternoon, so we'll be working on additional flyers and press releases and things like that to make sure that this information gets out to the public. And then last, we also have our city flag design contest. Our submission deadline is the end of this week, November 19th. And then we will also be seeking public input on this at the tree light event so that we can get as many people surveyed as possible to kind of decide what best represents the city of Menifee. And then for the park ranger updates, we wanted to make sure that you had information regarding our park rangers and their activities. They've been going out to our park sites, helping wherever necessary. So again, just making a large number of visits. And then actually tonight is the very last of our campfire program series at Centennial Park. And they look forward to bringing that back in 2022, starting in February. So hopefully, weather permitting, we'll be able to increase our campfire program opportunities throughout the city of Menifee. So that concludes my report. We've got information, if you need any information regarding any of these items, any of the upcoming events, we welcome people to either go online, give us a call, come down in person. We try and make ourselves available for anybody looking for information.
All right, Ms. Mitchell, please don't leave yet because I have a couple of council members in the queue. We'll start with Councilman Carwin.
Thank you. One thing that I didn't see on the list, are we still doing the senior food program at La Ladera Park?
Yes, that's actually going to be taking place tomorrow.
Right, so it's, I'm gonna make sure everybody knows that, so that you can start lining up at like 7:30, but the food doesn't get there until 9:30 or so?
10:30.
10:30 now. So, and I just want to remind everybody, people want to be first in line because they're worried about the food running out. Has that happened at all yet?
It has not.
Right, so if you show up last, you're still, so sleep in. And you're gonna get the box of food. I know people line up there at 7:30 in the morning. They wait there in their car for 3 hours to get the box of food. If you show up 3 hours later and get in line, you're gonna get one. But it's at La Ladera Park, right on La Ladera Road there, out by Audie Murphy, and you get a box of food that's supposed to last you for about 2 weeks, and that happens the last Thursday or the third Thursday of every month, right?
It's typically a third Thursday of every month, but we're going to make some adjustments due to the holidays. So this one's a little early.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then Mayor Pro Tem Sobek.
Yes, thank you for your report. I did see that there was a menorah lighting as well that got kind of skipped over. So I know that one of our park commissioners, Marty Rosen, was instrumental in bringing that to the city of Menifee. And it's been moved this year to Central Park because in the past we've done it at the shopping center, Menifee Marketplace. So
yes, we're working with
when
Shabbat
is that?
Temecula. That is going to be on Tuesday.
It was on
November
the slide.
30th. Yeah, it was on the slide. Tuesday, November 30th at 5:30,
Okay.
and there's going to be activities and the actual ceremony.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
There it is up in the corner.
Yeah,
yes.
it just got skipped over.
All right, hearing no more. Thank you very much. We appreciate you, Miss Mitchell. All right, let's move to item 6. This is our agenda approval. Madam Clerk, do we have any modifications to tonight's agenda?
No modifications.
All right, and I will just announce real quick that one of our agenda items later on this evening was a discussion item 11.1, the appeal of the Planning Commission's approval of the plot plan for the Crossroads, and we are going to continue that. So if you're here for that, I just want to make sure that you're not hoping to be here for that. We are going to continue that to December 15th. All right. So, council members, all in favor of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
And any changes or opposition, say now. Hearing none, that's approved unanimously. We are now on item 7. This is public comments for non-agenda items. This is the time for members of the public to address the council about items that are not listed on the agenda. The Brown Act limits the council's ability to respond to comments on non-agendized matters at the time the comments are made. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes on a single item. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, we do have a couple tonight.
All right.
First up is Bo Bowditch, followed by Ms. Miller.
All right. Mr. Bowditch, welcome, sir.
Thank you, council members. My name is Bo Bowditch. I live up by Audie Murphy Park, and I just first want to say I am so thankful to hear all the comments made here that as a Christian, I'm so thankful that you invite God to be part of your meeting here. And there's a good Bible verse. It says that God honors them that honor him. So thank you, folks, very, very much. I appreciate it personally. I live over by Audie Murphy Park. As I proceed east on Newport, cars proceeding west on Newport, there's a turnout there called Lone Pine, and I've covered this with Mr. Matt over there. He's got all the details. It's a very dangerous place. As you pull up over there, cars are not obeying the speed limit, and there's a green belt area which is very difficult to see. Sometimes cars don't have their lights on, and they really don't care about the speed limit. you got to be very, very careful. I'm a very careful driver. I'm concerned for my son or my wife in the passenger seat, because a T-bone there is going to be very, very serious. I've seen a lot of accidents over there. I'm concerned for life, mostly, and property. So I would make a recommendation or thought, perhaps you do something to, here's a big word, assuage the possible effects there. I appreciate that. Mr. Matthew over there, he's got all the details. I appreciate it. Lord bless you all, and thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate your perspective. Next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Miller?
You're headed to the right place.
Where the microphone is. Well, thank goodness it's much higher than it was. All right, we'll have a few seconds of silence because Marietta passed Marietta Hills last night. 1, 2, 3. I always love that picture in their lobby of the green hills, and it's going to 750 homes. People are inherently thankful and grateful for the earth, environment, and give praise to the Almighty every day to serve the protection of the air quality, water, food supply, and soil. We have fjorded the rising tide of maladies and calamities, and you would think we would have learned some lessons. However, the same heat rising from human emissions continues from unregulated use of fossil fuels, and the COP26 conference for the nations could not agree on a path to sustainability. Even in the name of the glory of the Creator, we should have asked direction. Holidays are clearly a non-sustainable path of over-consuming and only eating half of what's produced. And the storms that, from overheating the oceans, the hurricane after hurricane in 2020, 2019, and major droughts and fires and enough warming to humanity that we should need to act locally. City of Menifee does do everything they can to act locally, but you bring in these freaking out-of-town developers. Holidays back traffic up from San Diego to Los Angeles as developers satisfy housing pursuits for inexpensive rural countryside homes while keeping distance jobs, and we must work to stop paving over Menifee. This holiday is not natural nature, and it is not celebrated by the majority of American natives in this country. They call it the day of mourning. Today's dinner is brought to you in spite of the floods and droughts and the freezing that we had back east, in case you've forgotten, when the animals were frozen in the fields. The damage to the corn with the freeze is the reason the price of your food is so high. So, and that you have smaller animals if you eat animals. So many people don't. Freezing fields of corn, droughts, fires, not enough rain. And you still continue to pass things like Crossroads down over Bradley. Just don't do it. Leave the beautiful field. In your food are PFAs. Work for cleaner food without chemicals, sulfites, acrylamides, polyfluoroalkyls. That's in the packaging. The foam packaging you pick up everywhere you go most often has
Ms. Miller, your time is up.
the fire retardant in it. That's a very bad poison.
Thank you for coming tonight. Madam Spurt. All right. Madam Clerk, do we have another speaker lined up?
There are no other speakers.
All right, thank you. Let's go ahead and move to item 8. This is our council member updates and comments. I'll start on my right with Councilman Carwin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will start with kind of an old announcement because I wasn't here at the last meeting, but on October 27th, I attended the Riverside Transit Authority T-Now meeting as the alternate for Councilman Dinas. I think was there a meeting today for T-Now? So we may piggyback on our announcements. But on October 27th, they gave us an update, the legislative update for fiscal years 17 to 20. They reported out that the annual operation budget for RTA was $150 million a year, and 56% of that comes from state funding, which was an interesting statistic. They talked about some of the legislation that the governor had signed in. We've talked a lot about AB 43, which granted local control on speed limits, and then AB 917, which enables cameras on the buses so they can record what's going on there. But I was interested to see that the governor declined to sign one identified as AB 1238, which would have decriminalized jaywalking. That was on his desk, so he was not interested in that. I have been communicating with, separate note, I take a breath, I've been communicating with city staff and chief of police about some options to clean up the freeway right-of-ways, because Caltrans is not really responding to us as much as we would like to get those things cleaned up. And one of the things we're looking into is potential adopt a highway, whether we can either as a city adopt a section of highway and then arrange to get that cleaned up, or work with some of our local, maybe Rotary or Chamber or something like that to get them. Some of the sections are taken already, but they're not really being fulfilled. The obligations aren't. So we're seeing about some options about that. I'm telling people, because I've been getting a lot of calls about the trash along the 215 freeway between McCall and Ethonac, which gathers there from the wind. Unfortunately, we're precluded by law from sending our people in there to clean it up, and if the state doesn't come, we're limited. So this is kind of a stopgap until they get their stuff in order. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is in some of the travels that I've been doing lately over the past couple of months, I had the opportunity to go to southern Indiana, just outside of Indianapolis. And I've been noticing the city planning that's going on in those areas, the more rural farmland areas, and you go through, and there's a lot of development in the distribution centers and the things like that that we're talking about, and the retail, the kind of the things that are coming in here. But there's a very distinct feel of rural and openness and that kind of thing. And they've been able to balance it with some of the things that we've been looking at as signifying urban development, but there is very identifiable as rural. It's because they've got the farmland there mixed in with those kinds of things. And so that's given me a lot of perspective on how we might be able to balance and manage that kind of development coming into the future, while being able to integrate it and maintain kind of the hometown feel that Menifee has come to be known for. So the balance of bringing in responsible development and maintaining the identity of the city was really eye-opening, seeing some of the places that have done it around through the Midwest and the South. So just to let you know, when I'm traveling, I'm still thinking of the city of Menifee, no matter where I go. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Leesmeyer?
Yeah, just very briefly. I attended with the mayor. They said we switched the wrong microphone. You got the bad one now. With the mayor, we attended the Myriad Temecula group meeting on the first Friday of the month, where we overheard, and our city manager, Armando, who was a little disappointed I didn't announce that. We heard from Ann Mayer, the director of RCTC, where she was talking about all the regional projects and everything going on in our county. So it was a great update. I think we're going to try and attend more of those, and maybe even get a better seat at the table. So that's all I have.
Make them change the name.
Yeah, maybe the Myriad Temecula Menifee group or something like that.
Southwest Riverside.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Dinas?
Thank you. Since the last council meeting, I attended the Home Builders Appreciation Luncheon, and congratulations to Lennar Homes for being the Home Builders of the Year. Also, I had the greatest privilege to attend the Veterans Day celebration on Veterans Day. And finally, today it was RTA's T-Now meeting, and they WRCOG gave a presentation on the active transportation plan. Also of note is tomorrow the RTA Board of Directors will be meeting and deciding on the new Chief Executive Officer for RTA, Kristen Worosinski. And I apologize in advance for destroying that name, but She was be appointed as the new CEO to replace Larry Rubio, who's retiring. That's all I have.
Okay. All right, thanks for that update. All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, can I ask, are they doing anything for Larry Rubio? Are you aware? Okay,
He's going to stick around a little bit.
okay. Can you let us know, being a past alternate, I would be interested in that. Okay, thank you. So, let me move to my presentations. Attended a few different things that some of my colleagues would be interested in. So first of all, the mayor and I attended right after the last city council meeting. We attended the ribbon cutting for the CNG fueling station on Trumbull Road, and how exciting it was to have this alternative fuel opportunity for our residents and for clean air opportunities to try to get those emissions down. But what was most exciting was to see gas was $1.84 a gallon. So anyway, I guess a lot of large freight haulers in our area, Waste Management, and the gas company, of course,
Water District.
and the Water District, and other trash haulers are using this facility. RTA is using this facility, so it's going to be a real benefit to our area of the county. So that was exciting. And I did want to give a shout out to Adam Evanall. He is just, our government affairs person there. He's just fabulous and really makes us feel welcome and does a lot for Menifee. So appreciate him. I was able to attend the 2021 Logistics Development Conference over in San Bernardino. For my colleagues, if you want more information, I did get reducing emissions information, technology, and transportation. They talked about drones and how drones are going to be saving them money. We've all heard about drones delivering packages, but they were talking about drones using it like some of their facilities that may be a million square feet. It's about a mile around it, and so they can actually hire less security guards. They'll use the drones to man the building. They talked about drones are being used in some cities to help with the park ranger program to check out all the parks. Also in first responders, they can send out a drone letting them know ahead of time when an accident happens what type of accident it is, and they know how many vehicles to send there. So that was just a lot of good information. Over to on one of the pictures, you'll see a water tower park. This was one of the logistics centers built by San Manuel Indian tribe, and they built a beautiful park adjacent to their logistics center. So I just got all kinds of information, as we have them looking at our city, kind of what we might be able to ask them for a public benefit in return that would really benefit our city. So it was good information and a lot of good networking that morning. So I also had the opportunity to attend our November Student of the Month. And, as all of us know, as a council, the members, this is just really one of our favorite things to attend. I was really impressed with Wyatt from Heritage High School and Trey from Paloma Valley High School, and then there were two other students at Paris High Schools. But, the words that are said about these students is that they persevere, they're kind, they work hard. One mother shared that she's a single mom, she's raised her son, and he works here, they live right here down the street, and he's got a job here in town, and their front door lock broke, and she didn't have the money to fix it. And so he used his own money from work, and after work one day went and bought a lock, figured out how to do it, and fixed their lock. And she said that's just the type of young man he is. So, I'm just thankful. This is a good month to be thankful. And Sally Myers with Sizzler and our inland and Southwest Riverside County, for her starting this program so many years ago, and how it's been such a wonderful program for these students. So just for all the partners there, it was great. So again, we heard that by Councilmember Dinas, what a wonderful Veterans Day program we had. I have pictures here of the 3 students who won the art contest. Riley Jenkins is a high school student. Glenn, I'm not sure how to say her Hispanic last name, but she's in middle school. And then Alyssa Mercado from elementary school. And then I should have gotten her name, but we had this one of these adults here. She has her banner, and for as long as we've been doing the military banner program, we've been wanting to recognize the members of the community who support the military banner program, because they pay for the banner themselves. The city supports it a little bit by installation and takedown, but it's their banner. And so we just were able to thank her. The mayor was able to thank her for participating in the military banner program and her receiving a certificate. So just want to thank Community Services for just putting on the Veterans Day program that we had this year. I attended my second social emotional well-being discussion that's going to be incorporated into our Healthy Menifee program. We grew by a couple of members this time. A Dr. Anu is from Southwest Healthcare System. And again, Detective Adams from our Menifee Police Department have added so much to the conversation of coming out of the pandemic and how can we as a city provide some emotional support, knowing that some of these things that people are dealing with are having a difficult time. So a lot of good collaboration. I see something really great coming out of this. And they're looking at the kickoff to share this as You Matter will be in June. So that will be something great. Attended today Western Riverside County Regional Conservation Authority. I wanted to pay attention here. At our last meeting, I mentioned that they were taking applications for stakeholders, and you can see here our very own Councilmember Matt Leesmeyer applied and has been accepted to this committee. So thank you. I don't know if they've told you yet, but your name's right on there.
Right.
And actually, you know what? Actually, this is an executive meeting, so it's being presented to the whole board at our next meeting. So congratulations ahead of time on that. And then it was mentioned about the free Thanksgiving meal. I had also wanted to give a shout out to that. But also the Menifee Interfaith Council is doing their annual Evening of Gratitude, where they have music and messages on gratitude and Thanksgiving. It's always a wonderful event. And the whole idea is to bring non-perishable food for the Menifee cupboard. So if you can make it, it's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. That, and then my last thing, I just wanted to say thank you to our Menifee Police Department for the traffic mission that you did last Wednesday. And thank you to Chief Walsh for sending me these pictures that I can use them tonight. I did read online and in the press release, and I was impressed by the collaboration between all the agencies, the Hemet Police Department, Marietta PD, our CHP from Temecula, San Gorgonio, Riverside County Sheriff, that day you were out from 7 to 11 on Newport Road last Wednesday and made 225 traffic stops. And there were 214 citations, and there was a warrant arrest and 3 vehicles towed. But that wasn't the idea. The idea was to try to get people driving down Newport to pay attention and slow down. And I feel it was very successful, and I look forward to seeing more of these as we can do them with these joint agencies. And I just want to thank the joint agencies for partnering with our city of Menifee and helping to make Menifee a safer city. So thank you very much.
All right, great report. Thank you. I'm going to do mine real quick. Go through this list. This is since our last meeting on November 3rd. On November 4th, there was a ribbon cutting at the gas company, as mentioned. It was a great event. And then later, I joined the Lake Menifee Women's Club. There was a presentation at Archibald's. And then later that evening, I attended the Wildemar State of the City address. It was over at Marna O'Brien Park. And Mayor Nig did a very good job with their State of the City, and thank you to Imelda for joining me at that event. And I think Ron was there too. And then on the 5th, the Marietta Temecula group that was announced, and I attended that with Councilman Leesmeyer, and then also a Sun City Coordinating Council. They hosted a scam awareness seminar, and our Menifee police team was there, and it was for our seniors in Sun City, so thank you guys for that. On Saturday, the 6th, I spoke at the opening ceremony of Santa Rosa Academy's Freedom Run. It was an opportunity to honor our veterans. On the 8th, I attended a Home Builders Appreciation Luncheon, as Councilman Dynas mentioned. And also, I hosted a tour of the History Museum for our Boys and Girls Club kids that day. And then later that night was the League of Cities, or Cal Cities Riverside Division virtual conference. The speaker was the county CEO, Jeff Van Wagenen, and it was a very good virtual conference. He did an excellent job. And from the city, Melda also attended with me on that. But it was, he's well-spoken, and I think you guys would really appreciate hearing from the county CEO. On the 10th, there was a Veterans Parade at Chester Morrison Elementary School, and so I joined the kids there as a parade of veterans drove through. And then that morning, there was a men's senior softball league played against the MSJC women's team. It was the veterans who were on the softball league, and so it was kind of a fun event over at MSJC. And then at RCTC Commission meeting was later that morning. And then there was a chamber mixer that night at the Cupboard. It was an opportunity to collect turkeys for some of the underprivileged folks in town. On the 11th was our Veterans Ceremony, as was mentioned by my colleagues, and I thought that was well done as well. On Saturday the 13th, Boys and Girls Club held a gala. It was over at Big League Dreams, and I got to say, the city of Paris really stepped it up. They actually bought 2 tables for that event. Their city manager was there, all their council members and their mayor. It's just great to see City of Paris showing such appreciation for our Boys and Girls Club. On the 14th, I joined Eagle Ridge Church. There was a opportunity to honor our veterans there at the church. And on the 15th, there was a Menifee Munch at Archibald's, and Corey Jones from our Community Services team and Jonathan Nix gave an update to all of our businesses about some of the changes that are happening regarding recycling. Today, there was a League of Cities, or Cal Cities Mayor's virtual monthly meeting, and so I was able to share some information with other colleagues in other cities. And then this Saturday, I just want to make an announcement that there will be a special history program. It's the Canyon Lake Story, Part 2, and it starts at 9:30. It'll be held at the Rural Center on Hahn Road. If there's anything else, please jump in. If not, we'll move on. We are now on item 9. There's approval of our minutes, the minutes from our regular council meeting on November 3rd. Council members all in favor of approving those minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we're going to move on to our consent calendar items. This is item 10. Bear with me, I'm going to read this. All matters on the consent calendar are to be approved in one motion unless a council member requests a separate action on a specific item on the consent calendar. If an item is removed from the consent calendar, it will be discussed individually and acted upon separately. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments submitted to you on consent calendar items?
No request to speak.
All right, thank you. Council members, this is our opportunity to pull any items that we would like to discuss.
10.7.
Okay, 10.7. Any others, council members?
10.4.
All right, 10.4, thank you. All right, can I get a motion to approve the balance, please?
So moved. A second,
right.
then?
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, it looks like we're pulling it up now. Thank you. All right, our consent calendar passes 5-0 unanimous. Let's go ahead and take that first item, 10.4. This is our second reading and adoption of an ordinance amending citywide prima facie speed limits. Councilman Carwin, would you like a presentation since you missed the meeting where we did a lot of discussing last meeting?
No, I don't need a full presentation. I'll let you know I did watch the video and I feel fully informed. And the last thing I want to do is to hear the entire hearing. There were some issues that I don't think were raised that I think I don't even know that I would have noticed had I been here the first time as a result of the discussion. A couple of follow-up questions. Specifically with its, and I just cited it myself, it's AB 43, right, that gives us the local control. It's my understanding that if we stray from the recommended speed adjustments in the survey, that we then would forfeit our right to enforce through radar. First of all, Part A, do I have that part right?
Yeah, and
That's correct? Okay. So my question then is, in AB 43, are there any criteria that we can meet that would enable us to retain that? So if we meet certain criteria, we can adjust from the survey and retain our right to enforce. So any kind of concrete criteria if we meet A, B, C?
Councilmember Carwin, yes, there are some, AB 43 does allow some guidance, sorry, my microphone wants to keep going down, that provides for some allowances in adjusting speed limits. But there are also requirements to do traffic surveys, studies that are consistent with that, and we also have to look at the classification of the roadways, the type of roadway it is, to make sure it conforms to those requirements as well.
So specifically, there's a section of Sun City Boulevard referenced that are that's targeted for increases from 25 to 35 miles per hour. Do those section of roadways carry the criteria where we can stray from the speed survey recommendation while maintaining our right to enforce through radar?
It's very difficult because that roadway is classified as a secondary and it's 72 foot wide as designed and constructed. So it doesn't really fall within the typical local type of roadway as for residential or lower speed limits.
Like I know that on McCall is also unique in that there's driveways coming out on McCall, which has basically become an arterial freeway.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans that would assist us in calming traffic if we were to go with the recommendation?
Correct. As part of the staff report, you saw that we're proposing a future capital improvement project to review it and look at doing traffic calming type of installations, very similar to what was installed on Murrieta. Narrowing the lanes, adding bike lane shoulders and bike buffer lanes. It's a small strip between the bike lane and the travel lanes, and then the parking. So those are techniques that we use to try to calm the traffic and also provide a little bit more protection for the driveways that are abutting the roadway.
Can you tell me a little bit about, I know one of the common questions that I get from residents of that neighborhood is a request for speed bumps. And I know that that's a disfavored traffic calming method. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
That's correct. Speed bumps are not always the preferred alternative, especially there's in certain communities where there's a lot of bus routes, high volume vehicles, a high amount of volume of vehicles. We try not to utilize speed bumps. Speed bumps do cause other unintended consequences. For instance, there's a lot of braking and people accelerating to and from the speed bumps, and then also the loud noises as people are going over the speed bumps. So when you have a high volume roadway, you're going to hear a lot of acceleration, deceleration, traffic bumped or cars bumping over the speed humps. So we do look at it on several different levels to see if it meets warrants for a speed hump or speed bump.
And just circling back to your prior comment, I'm not sure I got a clear answer on the criteria. I understand we have criteria that allows us to vary from the speed survey. I understand that part. Yeah. But are there criteria that allows us to vary from the speed survey while maintaining our right to enforce through radar? Are there any criteria we can meet to say, hey, recommendation is 35, we're going to go to 25 and still enforce through radar? Are there any criteria we can meet to retain that right?
On that section of roadway or in general?
Let's talk about that section specifically.
Yeah, I don't believe that section of roadway would qualify for those type of
because of the width of the roadway?
The way the classification, the width, it's a multi-lane roadway. Typically on a local road or a residential road, it's one lane in each direction.
I understand. And my last question is, I just want to make clear, it's my understanding that golf carts can drive in the main lanes when the road is 25 miles an hour or less. If we have a separate designated golf cart lane, can they ride beside traffic that is higher? So if it's a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, if we have a designated golf cart lane, can residents still ride their golf cart on that roadway?
You know, I might ask Chris to help with that
Yeah,
question.
Captain, appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you, council member. Actually, no. So the vehicle code defines that if the roadway itself is marked over 25, so anything posted above 25, a golf cart may not be on. So the roadway has to be posted 25 or less.
So if we take this Sun City Boulevard section and raise it to 35 miles an hour, residents who currently drive their golf cars on it won't be allowed to do that anymore,
That would be correct.
even if we designate a lane specifically.
Yes, per the vehicle code.
What's the point of a lane?
What is it? 21716, the vehicle code. The roadway itself must be posted 25 or less.
Is that the same if there's a curb delineation between the main lanes of road and, like if we separate it out and make a golf car lane, and in the designation lane between main road and golf car, there's a curb or a median or something, does that separate it out and make it okay?
You know, I'd have to look at engineering standards on that, because we would have to have a separation of designated path. So you'd have to almost
Because
have
I'm
like a
concerned about
parkway.
cutting off people in that part of the city whose only means of getting around is the golf cart. And this is a roadway where we have residents who live on the roadway whose houses are there, and if we have people that's their primary mode of transportation, and we raise the speed limit and they can't do it anymore, they're going to be cut off, and that's a safety concern that I have for that section of the roadway.
That's a good point, and there are some side routes that they could take. There is just one section of roadway north.
So how do they get to the side section?
Yeah, the side section, you can cross the streets, legally cross the streets to get to those, but
But if you're the third house down,
yeah,
you've got to drive 3 houses along that street, which potentially is a ticketable offense. I mean, we're not going to say we're not going to do it, but my point is they're landlocked, they're stuck. And to me, that sounds like a potential public safety condition that would warrant the variance from the speed survey in that particular. I don't know if that was taken into account by the surveyors or those kinds of things. So if you're just looking at straight speed travel, I get where they got the data result from, but I'm not understanding how we accommodate those people by basically blocking their mode of transportation by moving it from 25 to 35. It seems absurd.
So we understand that that's how some of the residents have made that their primary mode of transportation. And within the city ordinance, which adopted the county ordinance, you still have to have a golf cart with rear view, side view, and blinkers. So it has to be roadworthy. And you have to have a valid driver's license, and you have to have insurance on the vehicle. So there's still a lot of criteria within the golf cart itself that it has to meet certain road qualifications. The only reason it doesn't have to be registered is because the law has said that this was meant for travel around a golf course, so it was meant for travel in a private community to travel less than 25 miles an hour. A golf cart, by definition, can only go 15 miles an hour. So you have a difference between a golf cart or a low-speed vehicle. So your low-speed vehicles can only travel on 35-mile-an-hour roads, right? And that's your 4-passenger, looks like a golf cart, but it carries 4 people, rather than 2. So we have to just look at the types of vehicles that are being used by our residents, and then identify these paths. I think there's room for some of these areas. If given time, we could look for paths. We could look for ways to designate crossings, to find alternative roads to get to. Our challenge right now is By law, the speed survey was mandated we do it on these roads because of their width. And then because of the findings of it, we're now challenged with, do we post at that 85th percentile speed, or do we vacate that? And then how do we provide enforcement? And unfortunately, if we vacate the survey, we will not be able to use radar, laser. It doesn't mean we can't use visual, doesn't mean we can't do pacing. The challenge becomes the survey will always exist. And if the survey exists, I can really, truly only do a violation for anything above the survey. So then the residents will continue to complain that people are speeding. People are going faster than 25. And there won't be much we can do about that until we exceed, I think 85th was 38, 39 miles an hour. We'd have to show something in excess of that.
So, Mr. City Attorney, is a vote on this, there's no voting on a partial list. I can't vote no to one recommendation. I'm voting yes or no on the entire list.
You are. You are. If the pleasure of the council would be to amend the list, then the procedure would be to reintroduce the ordinance with the amended list and then come back for a new second reading at a future city council meeting before it could become effective.
Thank you. Those are all the questions I have at this time.
Thank you, Councilman. And you know what? I just want to thank you for bringing those. Those are very similar to the ones that I brought at our last meeting's discussion. And I asked the question, you know, can we use arbitrary establishment of speed, and that can we use AB 43? And it did say it allows the discretion for you as a public works director, Mr. Fiddler, in special circumstances, and those special circumstances included a senior community, it included disabled people. And so really it kind of comes down to, we put it on a scale and balance it out, and on one side is the ability for our police to use radar, and on the other side, I think it's safety. And I'm thinking about seniors backing their cars out of their driveway onto a lane of moving traffic going above 35 miles an hour. It's already at 25 is sketchy, and so I'm concerned that it's just going to get worse. And so so I appreciate some of the questions that you brought. I'm also glad that you asked the question of tonight, since this is a second reading, is there something we can do? Can we scratch that one street and just say we want to do an amended, so we could reintroduce the item? Does that mean it would be noticed and come back to us again, or what happens on that?
No, Mayor. What we would do is, we would identify the part of the ordinance that would be scratched out.
Yes.
And then we would have the council action tonight. We'd read the title again, and then have the council action to reintroduce, subject to that modification. And then at the meeting on December 15th, we'd do a second reading again.
Okay, so it goes to December 15th. All right, I see Mayor Pro Tem Sobek's on the list, so go ahead.
Yeah, appreciate your questions on that. I'm grateful that we do have a city engineer and we have a police department who have given us some guidelines to go by. And what I'm concerned about is when Sun City was built in 1960s, early 60s, maybe there were a few more people driving golf carts because the population wasn't there. We now have a much larger population. And so I do believe it is about safety. I don't know how many accidents there have been with people pulling out of their driveways along McCall. I don't know how many people in that area even drive a golf cart. I don't see that many golf carts around. My mother-in-law used to live in that area, and she had a scooter with a little flag on the back. But she never drove down the main streets. She went down the side street in the alley of the condos across to get to Stater Brothers, the safest way she could. So, as more development comes in, that street is only going to get busier. So I'd rather see the realignment of how you do the markings on the road to be able to allow those residents to be able to back out maybe a little safer. You mentioned it's wider. I think you mentioned that there would be some realign lines that you could do. But to go against what our staff is recommending so that our police department can enforce tickets, I don't think that that's a good direction to go.
Okay, thank you. Captain Carr, how many tickets has that street used a radar on? Do you know a number there?
Well, we actually aren't using radar because the survey wasn't done. So we've been waiting for this survey to be completed so that we can
Do
begin.
you know if our RSA gave tickets using radar? Do we have any of those numbers?
I have no idea. I can look into it.
All right. I just want to see what we're giving up to balance out to lose safety. All right, Councilman Carwin.
So there's a double-edged concern for me with this increase. Honestly, the difference in enforcing between 35 and 39 miles an hour is, if we say, hey, if we don't go by the survey, we have to wait till they get to 39 miles an hour instead of just 35 before we can use a radar gun. That seems to be within the margin of error of traffic enforcement. But I'm mainly concerned with negating people's rights to access. How many is it? Is it one? Fine. And that's, for me, there's people who live there who already have that kind of access, and you're taking it from them. It's different if somebody were to move in and, between the time they decide, they're looking at the property and it changes. But for people who already live there, to change that accessibility on them for how long they've lived there, and the fact that we don't know the answer to that question inspires me to err on the side of caution for the rights of our citizens. So giving up that 4 mile an hour enforcement window from 35 to 39 miles an hour is a small trade. Keeping it at 25, yes, people going between 25 and 35, we'd have to pace them instead of radar, but it would give accessibility to those citizens. And in the meantime, we retain all of our rights to use the traffic calming methods. We can still install the restriping. We can still install the meetings. We can still do those things regardless of the survey, and I hope that we do. So my recommendation would be to approve the ordinance striking Section 2D, subsections 23 and 24.
And I would second that.
And I'm just going to have our city attorney verify that I've got the right sections. It's the two sections that deal with Sun City, but it's the 35 mile per hour section. And there's some numbering issues here, so I want to make sure I've got the right sections in the ordinance here, but it appears it's on...
Councilmember Carwin, 2D23 is Sun City between McLaughlin Road and Rouse Road. It's
That's
total
not the right one.
distance of 1/2 mile, and then 24 is Sun City between Rouse and McCall.
That's the one.
Those are the two sections that are both in. Oh, so Rouse and McCall is 25 increasing to 35. So that's the one that I would ask to strike. So it'd be Section 2D24 only.
I would second that.
And then I would move to approve the remainder.
Well, we would reintroduce the entirety, right?
Yeah, and just in case this motion passes, because before the motion is, or the roll call is taken, let me read the title, because
Okay.
we would need to do that on reintroduction. So
Okay.
it's an ordinance of the City of Menifee amending sections 12.04.010 and 12.04.020 of the Menifee Municipal Code to update the prima facie speed limits on certain street segments in the City of Menifee. This would be as the item appears in the agenda package, deleting item 2D24.
Thank you. Before I call for the question, I have Councilman Dynas in the queue.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, since we're doing something a little bit out of the ordinary, I would be more likely to support this if we could have some kind of a follow-up report, maybe 3 to 6 months, just in case there's some unintended consequences with what we're doing, just to make sure that you're not handcuffing, pardon the pun, our police department for not doing, being able to control traffic there well enough, but just to make sure that what we're doing did in fact meet what we're planning, what we're hoping it'll work and do, as opposed to just do it and hope for the best.
Okay, to me that makes sense. if we can get a report back down the road, but we still need to make the decision at our next meeting. So, Madam Clerk, because this is coming up as a motion and it's listed here, we're actually voting on what we said and not what we see on the screen, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I have it correct in my minutes.
Thank you. Okay, Bob, did you move? Okay, good. And there's their second. Okay, that passes 4-1, and so we look forward to seeing that amended and reintroduced item on December 15th. Thank you for helping us with that. All right, now, I was told that Mayor Pro Tem Sobek might have requested the wrong thing, so can you tell us what you'd like?
I apologize, and so I do need to make a motion that we approve, sorry, 10-7.
Second.
And I had meant to pull 10-10 to ask some questions, but not to deny it.
So do we need to make a motion?
Can you help us, Mr. Attorney?
So, first, on 10-7, it sounds like you already have a motion in a second, that's pending. On 10-10, I asked Councilmember Sobek whether she, what she intended to do, and I think she only has questions, and so I don't think you need to redo your consent calendar vote so much as just provide an opportunity to allow Councilmember Sobek to ask her questions about 10-10.
Okay, thank you for helping us with that.
I apologize for that.
Make sure we're following the law here. Okay, it looks as if item 10.7 passes unanimously. So let's go now to 10.10, and Mayor Pro Tem Sobek, what was
Yeah.
your question?
So it's community services, it's Pacific Office Interiors Agreement, Lazy Creek Recreation Center furnishings. And they're asking for an additional allocation of $30,000 due to the global supply chain shortage that I read in the staff report, increased costs of general contracting supplies due to shortages, and new furnishings. So I guess I just hate seeing this increase, and so I don't know if any of the old furnishings can be used until we wait out. I don't know if it's even smart to wait out this situation that's happening with all of our ships sitting in the harbor, right? Not being able to provide what is needed. So I just wonder if you've thought about that at all.
Yeah. Councilwoman Sobek, we have. Lazy Creek Recreation Center, as you know, was operated by the county for many, many years before we took it over. And when the city took it over, we absorbed a lot of that older furniture that they already had. So a lot of the furniture that was existing in the building was already 15 to 20 years old. We are still reusing a lot of the tiny tots, like kind of preschool age furniture that we can, but also we're adding a whole new building that wasn't there before. So that we do need new furnishing for that building, and a majority of this furniture is for that. And then we're also on the existing building, we're reoriented in a little bit. So there's some other items in there as far as some of the staff spaces and the reception area that we needed to redo and add. So this is a not to exceed amount. So we are going to try to definitely stay under that amount. But we do need to buy furnishing for the new building.
And do we need to do it right now? I mean, I mean, $30,000 is quite a increase from what you maybe thought was budgeted.
The building, there is very high demand for the programs that we're offering at Lazy Creek. Once we open back up and move back in at the beginning of the year, we already have a really long waiting list for all the programs. So we need we can't have a vacant building without any furnishing, basically.
Well, I understand that, and I understand we have increase of residents, and we do need these amenities. I just hated seeing that big increase, and if I maybe just ask that as we see this happening, maybe we just be wise and prudent as much as we can.
Absolutely,
I guess that would be my request.
Yes.
All right, thank you. That's, we appreciate the input. All right, let's move to item 11. This is our public hearing items. 11.1 is the appeal to the Planning Commission's approval of Plot Plan 20-0273 Crossroads. And tonight we're going to be continuing this, but Mr. City Manager, did you just want to explain the item in the continuance?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and council members, as you mentioned, the item will be continued, so if there's anybody out there that was here for that, we are going to be requesting the council to postpone, continue the meeting to the December 15th meeting. The reason for that is we did have a second appeal. They came in a little bit later after the first appeal was made, and we have talked to both appellants, and they've agreed to continue the item to December 15th. Consequently, that's why we're requesting that it be continued, date specific.
Okay, and Mr. Melching? Okay, but I'll just ask, is there any speakers tonight on this item? You'll have the opportunity on December 15th to discuss this when it's noticed. All right, hearing none, so we will go ahead and ask for a motion to continue the item to December 15th, 2021. I have a motion. Anyone?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. So thank you for the two abstentions. We have, that passes 3 to 2 abstentions. So we will now move on to our next item, 11.2, an urgency ordinance extension for battery storage uses. Mr. City Manager, did you want to introduce our staff member who's going to present?
Yes, Mayor. We're going to have Ryan Fowler, our principal planner, overview this with the council. Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Fowler.
Good evening. Yes, Ryan Fowler, Principal Planner, here to present the urgency ordinance extension for utility scale battery storage uses. So if you recall, on October 6th, 2021, the council adopted a 45-day moratorium on utility scale battery storage uses. In that staff report, we had listed that there could be an option to do an extension for an additional 10 months and 15 days for a total of 1 year. That's needed for this process to review and make recommendations. And so the final outcome that we foresee for this whole process is that we would be amending the zoning code to identify where these uses will be allowed and to establish approval processes and requirements. And then also we plan or anticipate amending the zoning code to include new specific uses, or sorry, new regulations that are specific to the use, and then also to amend any affected specific plans. And here is our proposed schedule. So next month, we're proposing to conduct the stakeholder feedback and collaboration. And then this next item is already underway, but leading up until January of 2022, staff would conduct the research of other jurisdictions that have gone through this process. And then in March, we're planning to produce the draft applicable development standards. In April, City Council we would conduct the workshop with City Council, and then in June, Planning Commission meeting, and then in July, coming back to City Council. So at this time, staff recommends you conduct the public hearing and adopt an ordinance extending the moratorium on utility scale battery storage uses for a period of 10 months and 15 days. This concludes staff's presentation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fowler. Any questions, council members? No discussion, but questions, Councilman Leesmeyer?
Yeah, Ryan, just very briefly, the stakeholder meeting in December, do you have a date for that, or are you still working on that?
We're still working on that.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing at 7:13. Madam Clerk, is there any correspondence on this item?
No correspondence.
All right, thank you. And then was this legally noticed?
Yes, it was.
All right, and do we have any speakers on this item? Anyone wish to speak?
We do not have any requests to speak.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this item? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:14. And council members, we can open it up for discussion or a motion. I don't hear much discussion, but I will say I kind of did the math a little bit on those dates, and it looks like it's a little shorter than the full 10 months, so I'm hopeful that we can edit the zoning code a little sooner and get this to that finish line so that we can have this all ready. Okay, Councilman Leesmeyer.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. And with respects to the stakeholder connection and working it out, just request that we keep an open mind with it. We understand that there's a lot of new evolving technology, and as with all of our ordinances, one size doesn't always fit all. So I just want to make sure that we're, being cognizant of the wide variety of technology, and that we're not shooting ourselves in the foot where there could be an opportunity that's maybe not so dangerous.
That's a good point.
So that would be all I'd like to add.
Any other comment or motion?
Move to approve.
Okay,
Second.
thank you.
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, this is another one where we need to read the title.
Oh, please.
So I'll take a run at that. Urgency ordinance of the city of Menifee, California, extending for 10 months and 15 days the effective period of urgency ordinance number 2021-327, which imposes a moratorium on certain battery storage uses. And as a reminder, this requires a 4/5 vote.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you reading that for us. I think we do have our motion and our second, and we'll tally up the votes right now. And it looks like that passes unanimously, so thank you very much. Okay, let's move to our item 12. This is a discussion item. It's the 12.1 is 2022 City Council meeting calendar. Mr. City Manager, who's going to report?
I will, Mayor and council members. Traditionally, the council has, for planning purposes, looked at the next year city council meetings. As you know, we have 2 meetings a month. However, there are certain times of the year where we have conflicting days because we have other meetings, holidays, and things like that. So we like to ask the council to look at the calendar that's attached to the agenda. And we would request, traditionally, the first meeting of the year, which in this case, it would be January 1st, is a little bit problematic because of the holidays. So we would ask that we forego that meeting. There's 4th of July also represents a little bit of a conflict in schedule. And then this next year, the Cal League conference will be held September 7th through the 11th, which is the day of our city council meeting. So we would like you to consider foregoing those 3 meetings. And then any other meeting date that you think may be conflicting with your schedules as a whole, as a council.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. So those 3 that you mentioned, council members, it's up to us to kind of consider those, but do we have any questions at this time?
I do.
Okay, question.
I'm just looking at the July one, for example. You're proposing to
July 6th.
cancel July 6th? Is that what you're saying?
No, these are meeting dates.
Those
These
are
aren't
meeting
canceled
dates,
These are
and,
meeting
and
dates.
I think July 4th lands on a Monday.
Right, but he's recommending that we consider canceling July 6th.
Oh, because of July 4th.
Correct.
Correct. So I guess my question is, I'm not clear on where the conflict is. The agendas and all the staff work is done the week before, and the 4th is a Monday, so I'm just.
Right, no, I apologize. I think that we've, in the past, seen a high flow of people going into vacation, council members going to vacation during that time, so it may be conflicting with your vacation schedule or time off. So it's a proposal, and if you think that it's possible that you're not going to be busy that week, we can still hold that meeting.
Okay, just a question, so I'm ambivalent.
Okay. Any other questions, council members?
So I was looking at the calendar for next year. I do remember this year, going back to July 6th, first of all, that it just seems like that week of July 4th, seems like everybody was ready for just like a little break. So I don't mind that suggestion, but I was looking at December 21st. I don't know, it's the holiday's the 23rd from what I read, the Christmas Eve holiday. And is that going to be okay? So that was just something, I'm fine with it, but I just was looking at the dates and just that one poked out at me.
It's proximity to Christmas. You're just thinking same kind of thing, vacations and stuff. Okay. Any other questions, council members? Madam Clerk, any request to speak on this item?
No request to speak.
All right. Council members, what's our pleasure? Anybody have a recommendation?
Are we being asked to approve Anything?
I
Or
think
is it just guidance?
I think it's guidance right now to just kind of say, I think there's 4 that have been put on the table, January 7th, July 6th, September
5th.
7th.
Is it January 5th?
January 5th.
I'm sorry. Why did I have 7 on there? Looking at this year's calendar.
I'm fine with the recommendations.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
That's the recommendation just for planning purposes, but if there is a need to have a special meeting, we can always schedule a special meeting should something come up.
Okay.
Yeah, we can always add the dates back in.
Okay. So all 4, are we talking about doing all 4 or just the 3 that staff recommended? The 4th one would be Councilmember Sobek's December 21st.
That's correct.
So, council members, are we talking about all 4? We'll go dark on all 4 of those.
With an
January
option.
5th, July 6th, September 7th, and
With an
December
option
21.
to have them if needed.
I'm agreeable to that.
Everybody's agreeable? All right, there's the motion then, so I'll make it.
Second?
All right, and that passes unanimously. All right, let's move to item 12.2, utility box art policy. Mr. City Manager, do you have a report or staff member to report?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and council members. I think we're gonna allow a combination team here of Imelda Huerta and Mandy Stevens to present this one. Thank you.
All right, the A team.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Again, my name is Imelda Huerta, Senior Management Analyst in the City Manager's Office. And with me is Mandy Stevens, our Executive Assistant in the City Manager's Office, who is also helping with this program. So thank you again. This is a very exciting topic for me. And so I do want to give a brief background on the utility art box policy. Back in September 2017, Council requested that staff deliberate the placement of art on utility boxes within the city of Menifee. And in April 2018, at the City Council meeting, Council discussed the goal of the program and recommended that the Arts Council Menifee research and review a utility box art program. Staff also reviewed previous discussions between the City Council, staff, and discussed the program with Arts Council Menifee as far as history and vision. So the goal and purpose is to add visual interest to Menifee, deter graffiti, beautify the city, and contribute to the vitality of the streets, businesses, and residents, as well as the surrounding neighborhoods. Additionally, the program is intended to transform city-owned traffic signal boxes into distinctive works of art, which not only creates a more vibrant and attractive cityscape, but promotes and engages artistry in the community. Per the direction of City Council, staff is moving forward with the program and is proposing this policy to streamline the process and provide efficiency to both staff and participants. Many cities have implemented similar policies for the utility box art program, and city staff with the vision of city leadership have recently implemented the Menifee Inspires initiative to include public art in our community, and that is the logo we selected, which looks pretty awesome. And this program also aligns with the Strategic Visioning Plan foundational goal, which is a safe, attractive community. So I wanted to highlight some of the key items in the policy, and I will start with the responsibilities of the City Manager's Office. So some of the responsibilities include seeking out artist submissions, including marketing and administration of social media platforms. City staff may choose to partner with a nonprofit art group, educational institutions, or other entities as approved by the city manager or designee to seek artwork and/or artists for the provision of public artwork on city-owned utility boxes pursuant to the policy. We will also, some of our responsibilities is also communicating with the artists or art agencies that we partner with, as well as auditing and evaluating art displays. Communications staff will develop press releases and social media content, and we will coordinate with the Public Works Department to determine appropriate locations for the artwork. And just some information on the utility boxes that we have in the city. They do vary by size. The installation of artwork will be completed by vinyl wrap. Locations throughout the city, including major thoroughfares with traffic signals that are visible to pedestrians, cycling, and automobile traffic. The public art should be set in high traffic locations, however, should not pose a distraction to drivers passing by, which is also why we check in with our Public Works Department just to have their locations approved. We are recommending a display period of up to 3 years to allow for more participation in the program. The physical condition of the artwork will be evaluated periodically to determine the condition of the artwork by staff and the vinyl vendor. Artwork may be removed or replaced by the city at any time for any reason in its sole discretion. However, if it is removed, we will always do our best to notify the artist. Some of the artist requirements highlighted in the policy is that the preference will be given to Menifee residents. However, it is not a requirement for selection. Artists may be of amateur or professional status and must agree to providing work without compensation. Additionally, artists must be willing to sign an agreement with the city of Menifee and or recruiting agency crediting the rights to the art by the city of Menifee in a form approved by the city attorney. As far as the artwork requirements, the artwork should be submitted as high-resolution digital photographs. Content must be suitable for viewing by patrons of all ages. Copyrighted or trademark images are not permitted. Photographs and or artwork must portray the city's culture, historic heritage, reflect the aesthetic beauty or character of the community, or align with the theme selected by the city in a call to artists in order to align with the city's mission, statement, and vision. The photographs or artwork may include the name of the artist on the submission and no larger than a 3x5 inch space on the box's 4 side panels. The artwork selected by the city will become an expression of the government of the city, and the city reserves the right to reject any artwork deemed not consistent with our messaging for any reason. Additionally, the city manager or designee in its sole discretion may decline the artwork if it does not align with our city's vision. As far as maintenance, in the event that there is vandalism or damage to an art display, the Public Works Department or vinyl vendor will endeavor to follow the cleaning maintenance instruction provided by the artist or manufacturer of the vinyl or other medium on which the artwork is imprinted or created. However, city staff and staff from the office of the city manager will place work orders once we become aware of any type of vandalism or damage to the artwork, to the Public Works Department. As far as review and selection, we do plan on working with, as this program grows, working with our information technology department to create an online platform for submissions. Additionally, the office of the city manager will select a focus group to review all applications to select artwork no later than 30 calendar days after a submission deadline. The installation of the artwork will be no more or no later than 60 calendar days after the selection announcement. And the office of the city manager will also develop a press release, social media contact, and coordinate recognition at a city council meeting when possible, of course, for selected artists and artwork. As far as fiscal impact to the program, the office of the city manager did budget $21,000 this fiscal year to begin this program. We do not anticipate using this full budget. And I also wanted to note that SCE did provide the city with a $1,500 donation. If the $1,500 is needed for the fiscal year, for this fiscal year, staff will bring a staff report back to the city council requesting the appropriation of additional funds. And I believe this was actually in the 2018-19 fund balance. So that concludes our presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thanks, Ms. Huerta. Council members, do we have any questions? Not discussion at this time, but questions. Councilman Carwin.
With regard, is there a vinyl vendor already selected?
Yes, so we do have one selected. We did get some bids from, I believe, 4 vendors, and we did select a vendor, yes. We have an open purchase order.
In the purchase order plan, is there any kind of warranty on the vinyl built in case there's some sort of weather? Because I know the weather is pretty brutal on things like that outside, you know, just looking at the banners, things like that.
Yes.
Will they replace them if the weather wears them out?
So the material is warranted for 2 years with normal wear and tear and clean removal for up to 5 years. We also, we do have a quote from them in case something has to be replaced. And depending on how large the area is that needs to be replaced, it varies from $40 to $225, depending on the area.
And then as far as, this might be getting too detailed into the application, but is there a template that's going to be on the application?
So thank you for asking that. And so yes, that vendor will provide us with a template that artists can use.
So they know what goes along the sides, what's going to be on the front?
Yes,
And is it all the way around? Does the art go all four sides, or is it just the front three?
We did decide all four sides, yes.
But it depends on the type of artwork as far as what will be designed. So we're working with the vendor right now who's going to give us a sample of the current artwork and how it's going to be displayed on each side.
All right, so the artist will know where the panels are going to be.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And part of the reason why we thought the vinyl would be great, it's anticipated to last longer, but it also allows for artists that may not be professional artists, just at different levels to submit. So they're not necessarily just people that paint, they're different types of artists. But yes, we are in contact with a vendor. We have worked with the Arts Council Menifee. They did a call to artists, I believe, a couple years ago. We did already form a focus group to go through those artworks, and we do have about 6 or 7 pieces that we want to start with that we are anticipated to be installed within the next month, and hoping to present that at the next City Council meeting.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Sobek's got a question.
Yeah, I remember when Councilmember Leesmeyer brought this before the council several years ago, and I remember a discussion, and I didn't see it here. If I'm wrong, let me know. But I thought that the desire was that this was going to be a nonprofit. The city was going to be the supporting role. The Community Service Department went out twice to the Arts Council that weren't able to follow through on it, or I'm not sure. But so that's a question I guess I have is that the way it was originally set up? Is that we were going to be the supporting role and it was going to be the nonprofit was going to be the lead?
I believe originally that was I think that was the original intent. However, now we do anticipate this program to grow, but not just limited at utility art boxes. We do want to have a public art initiative that grows. And so it was my understanding that now the city manager's office is taking the lead, and which is why we budgeted for this inaugural year for this program.
Okay, so you budgeted $21,000. Do you have an idea of how much each box is going to cost?
So originally I budgeted that amount anticipating about 18 boxes. It's about, you can come up.
Mandy, to the podium, thank you.
Our last quote was for 9 boxes, and it was going to be 10,000. But since then, some of the artwork has already been sold, so we can't use that. So now we're at 6, and I don't have an updated quote as of right now for the 6. But the last quote was for 10,000, so it's definitely less than that.
How much per box are we looking at?
They're different sizes, so each box has a different.
Do you have a range?
I would range between 800 to 1,500 a box. 1,500 is kind of on the high end.
Thank you.
And my question is, it seems like in the last year, this project has been re-picked up by your team, and we call the city manager's team, city manager's office, and you guys have a new logo, Menifee Inspires and all that. Just for clarity, has any city council members or the mayor been involved in that committee or that process, or given you any direction about type of art or anything like that?
So as far as type of art, so we, the art that we anticipated moving forward with was art that was already vetted by the Arts Council Menifee. However, we can vet that through City Council prior to installation to make sure.
But have you, since you've taken responsibility of this project, have there been any influence from the mayor or City Council on
no.
this? All right, thank you. I just want to
No
make that
problem.
clear. Thank you. Councilman Dinas.
Yeah, how many boxes again that you were thinking of doing initially?
So initially, we were thinking about 18, and our locations that we are planning to start with are all along Newport, which is high visibility area and fairly highly traveled.
How many boxes? Now, let me back up first. These would only be city-owned boxes, like traffic
Right now,
control
yes.
boxes and whatever else the city might own?
Correct. And we did, originally I had anticipated 18, there's 18 locations we selected, but to begin, we want to start with, I believe, 6 or 7, and see how that goes.
And what's the criteria for selecting those boxes then?
So for this first round, it's a bit different because there was already art vetted by the Arts Council Menifee. However, the city manager did designate a focus group to meet and go over the 18 pieces of art. And for this first round, the focus group was our internal analyst group. It's already an internal group that we formed. And so through an anonymous, I showed them the work, and through an anonymous survey, people selected certain artworks that they thought would be.
I'm sorry, I meant,
Okay, I'm sorry.
you know, what's the criteria for selecting where the boxes are located? What's the criteria for that? How did that decision make they should all be on Newport or that type of thing?
The boxes that we own, the ones that we picked were on Newport. Rob Blau, our traffic engineer, gave me that list, which was our original list from when this was with Community Services and Arts Council. And then the exact specific ones that we begin with are the ones that are preset in size because they don't need the extra, there's a secondary cabinet that goes on there for the battery, and the ones that we picked already have that, but there's some that are going to be added, so we couldn't get an accurate sizing on those boxes.
And just ballpark, how many utility boxes are we talking about throughout the city that would be eligible for it? I mean,
I think the ones that we wanted for the program are the 18. And those are all along Newport. However, the program may grow, so we may look at other areas. The policy doesn't state specific.
right, I understand that, but how many utility boxes does the city own that's throughout the city limits?
I might be able to help answer that question.
It could grow and get real expensive is my concern.
I believe we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 traffic signal intersections with traffic signals. Now, all those probably won't be a good candidate because of the locations of the traffic signal cabinets may not be at the corner, they may be within landscape areas not visible to the traffic driving by. And I think another item that Mandy has mentioned is that we are putting battery backup on several of our signals. Some of those don't already have them, so we're always looking at grant opportunities to install battery backup systems for when we have power failures. So we'd try not to do those knowing that we'd come in the next year or two and add those, because that would kind of just take away from the artwork.
Final question, this sounds like it's going to be more of a city staff-centric type of program. Does the council get involved in it anywhere in the process?
So the council, with the policy, of course, you're involved. However, as the program grows, we can definitely come to council with a presentation of the selection of artwork and prior to installation, if that is the desire of the council. I've seen that happen in other cities where there's an artist selected. After it has been vetted, then there's a presentation done at council prior to.
Those are my questions.
All right, Councilman Leesmeyer.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this forward. Yeah, it was quite a few years ago, but be it as it may, I mean, things stall for whatever reason. When I first brought this forward, I had done a little bit of legwork with Southern California Edison to find out if we could actually use their boxes, because at the time, the most egregious box was right there at Menifee Town Center, where Dave's Hot Chicken is now. Since then, there's been some road improvements, and the box that was there is now been pushed back and whatnot. So, and that's also the reason for the donation from Edison. Edison was supportive of it. Yes. So, while I can always appreciate how things morph, I think it's great that we're using all of our traffic boxes as well. They're on prominent corners. They're very high visibility, but we don't necessarily need to always use those. I guess we can be open-minded and use the Edison boxes as well. I guess that'd be my request, is if we could look into that. Maybe there's an Edison box that sticks out like a sore thumb that's just faded and degraded, and it could use some sprucing up. I mean, there's a big ugly one right over here. It's all faded and covered with weeds. I drive by it every day and look at it. But in addition, when I first brought this up, I'd encouraged that maybe this could be patriotic in nature. We have a lot of veterans in our city with the Sun City Corps, or we do a lot with our veterans organizations. We have the Banner program. And my encouragement at the time was that it could be patriotic in nature. Again, respectful of how things morph and the metamorphosis of the process. Talking with the mayor, there's a lot of great artists out there that have a lot of art that have to do with the rural heritage of the valley. But I don't want to close the door for opportunities that might be patriotic in nature. So while we don't directly say it's not allowed, I would like to say that it is allowed. Can we add language like that say patriotic is also allowed? If we can come up with the right language for that, would that be acceptable?
It is to me. Council members, are we okay with adding patriotic as one of the criteria or categories?
Preferences?
Yeah, okay.
If I can just clarify, and thank you for bringing that up, Councilmember Leesmeyer. And so if we do partner with SCE, it will require a separate agreement. Not that it can be done, it can be done. And I did confirm that we can use that donation money for city-owned boxes as well. But to your point, we definitely can incorporate the language that allows for us to partner with our utility agencies. I'm looking at our city attorney just to make sure it's okay for me to add it in this policy. I think it's doable. And then to your point about the patriotic theme, so right now with these first artworks that we chose, as I mentioned earlier, they're already pre-selected, embedded through the Art Council Menifee. However, we will be putting out other calls to artists, which can be different themes. So definitely patriotic theme can be one of them.
Okay, yeah, that'd be fantastic. And if you just add the language and the criteria,
Cool.
that would kind of button that up for me.
And just to clarify with our city attorney, do I need to put that specific theme in the criteria, or can that just be part of the call to artists when it comes out in the application? Yes.
If I understand the council correctly, I think they're looking to see it put into the criteria so that it is part of the ongoing sort of reminder of what's expected.
I agree with that.
Sounds good.
Before we get too far, Bob, is yours a question or a comment?
Question.
Okay.
I know that the criteria said that the artist's name can't be included in there, that kind of thing. But is this a program that once we start doing it, an organization wants to sponsor a box, can the sponsor name be included in the artwork? So, like, for example, if the Rotary Club wanted to sponsor a box, they could pay for one, but it's within that budget. I mean, if it's between $800 and $1,500, there's a lot of organizations that would love to have a small placard built into the artwork in the vinyl that says this artwork sponsored by Lions Club or whoever, as an incentive for them to pay for the continuing. Because I know that Mayor Pro Tem brought up the idea that this was originally supposed to be a program funded by third-party nonprofits. I think once people see them start going up, they say, hey, that's great. How do I get involved? And I mean, I could absolutely see groups wanting to sponsor a box and maybe take some of the financial burden off the city that way.
So I know typically we don't want to promote organizations, but I know we have, for example, in the banners, the Rotary Club. So I will defer to our city attorney to see what's appropriate.
The concern is would be taking a public space and converting it into an advertising context. And so the short answer to your question, Councilmember Carwin, would be we can do it, but we cannot allow it to be converted into advertising. So it would be art selected pursuant to the criteria and process that's described here, and then a standard acknowledgement that would go on, contributed to or sponsored by, which I think is more or less what you described. So the question would be the issue would be to make sure that it doesn't morph into something that acts more like an advertisement for the sponsor.
If it's is there this is getting very television standards and practices, but is there a size that converts it from an acknowledgement to an advertisement?
We'll have to work something out.
Or perhaps would it be, could we have a list of all of the like a page on our city website showing all of the boxes and have the sponsor maybe listed on the website under a picture of the box?
Yeah, we absolutely can do that. And I know that we can do that. And let me tell you why I know that we can do that. And it's not great legal research. It's because I drive around and I see on the highways all the time when you'll see that the cleanup of a piece of the highway was sponsored by some organization, and there's nothing inherently wrong or bad about that. So I know that we can do it, and we can work, if it's the council's direction, we can absolutely work to integrate something into the policy that allows for an acknowledgement and allows for a website acknowledgement, if that's what we also want to do, but make sure that it doesn't convert into an advertisement.
I would like to have a method for that. So, and does this become a problem financially if we're getting grants or sponsorships, or if it's dedicated just to this program, we can maintain it within the program, right? Because we're not looking to sponsor the program, right? It'd be like a specific amount for a specific box. I mean, the price would be definable.
It would be.
Mr. City Manager?
Yeah, thank you, City Attorney, for that. I was going to mention something like that, but I see other requests, for example, the subjectiveness of what size should the sponsor's name be, and I'm afraid if I think worst case scenario, I'm going to see a box this big, and then the sponsor wants their sponsorship acknowledgement to be 90% of the box, and then a little bit of art. So we really need to, if that's the prerogative of the council, to allow sponsorships, I'd like to be able to take this back and look at what will be appropriate, because it would be difficult for us to do it right now.
I would be fine with the acknowledgement on the website. I think it would be a cool thing if we end up with a whole city full of these, to have a map on the city website of all, that kind of thing, so people would know. You could go to one place and see where are all the boxes, who's the artist, who's the sponsor for it, for each one of them, without putting it. I'd be fine without putting it. There's some way that they could be acknowledged like that. So that's something that, now that I know that we can do that, I think that might get us back to our original plan. We could jumpstart the program through the city, but that was my question. Now I'm getting into discussion, but my question was, can we do it? And I have my answer.
I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on this item?
There are no requests to speak.
All right, council members, we can discuss all we want.
Getting back to what I was saying.
What took you?
Right,
Yeah, well, I was looking. I saw something on. I forget what city it is that has cows throughout it, like statues of cows that are dedicated all over the place. Be kind of cool to have little statues of Audie Murphy all over the city. You could paint them in different ways. But something like this, I think starting with 6 boxes, since that's the artwork that we have, is a minimal investment, and perhaps maybe city council approves adding boxes, so we keep an eye on this thing so it doesn't go from 6 to 80 or whatever. Yeah. And then as we go along, we encourage the sponsorships and availability of things like that to maybe move this thing back to where it's not a city expense, but it's a city sponsored kind of thing, a city supported program rather than a city funded program.
Yeah, I agree with that, and the expense is kind of a concern of mine. I'm fiscally conservative. My wife says I'm cheap, but
and
bottom line is when I heard that price tag, I had sticker shock. So I wish there was a way we could do this through a nonprofit and end up just having businesses sponsor them and things like that. I mean, I think that was the original intent, and it's kind of gone here and there and back and forth a few times, and now it's back to us. And do we want to spend general fund taxpayer money on this? So I guess that's my question, but it's not for me to decide, I guess. Mayor Pro Tem Sobek.
Well, you have one voice just like all of us, so I appreciate the work that you've done on this. I love the idea of the Menifee Inspires and wanting to do this art, across our city is great. I have some concerns right now, knowing there's so many needs in the city, and I feel like this is a want. And tonight, I just brought up the question about the $30,000 increase for furniture at Lazy Creek. And are we gonna see more of this? And, I mean, I would love to do it, but I just feel like right now, I think there's so many other needs that we have as a city. We're hearing residents all the time talking about more stop signs, more street lights. Their roads need paved, just improvement on roads. And so I feel like I wouldn't be really responsible with the taxpayers' money right now. And it's nothing against your report or anything. You did a beautiful job, and I appreciate Matt wanting to do this, and I would have really wanted to do it before he leaves the council, but at the same time, with the uncertainty in the market, I just don't feel it's the right time right now. And I just feel like there's so many needs over wants. And like I said, I would love to see it someday, but right now, I just don't think it's fiscal responsible. So that's kind of my comment to my colleagues here.
Floor is open.
I would frankly echo the concern. I think when this came back to us a couple of years ago, the idea of the wrap came forward, and it got really commercialized. And I guess if it could go back, and maybe there's a way that we can involve some organizations, and maybe I'm just brainstorming here again, back to where I was in 2017. On a Saturday, just as Pastor Sharp has gathered 300 people together to go clean up the streets, we have a rally point at Community Services, and it's just abstract stuff, abstract colors, abstract patriotic colors, whatever shapes, just painting the box in general. Just take it back down back down and simplify it. Where again, organizations can get involved, groups can get involved, churches can get involved, and when somebody drives by, they can go, you know what? I remember when I painted that, and have a sense of pride and a sense of ownership on those things. Boys and Girls Club could get together and do it. As silly as it sounds, I think I've said this to a few people. You could have a bucket of red paint, a bucket of white paint, a bucket of blue paint, and all the kids from the Boys and Girls Club can put their hands in the paint and put their handprints all over the box. And without it looking incredibly sloppy, it would be pretty neat for those kids to drive by for years on end and go, "That's my handprint," that kind of thing. Real simple, and it's just really gotten commercialized. And $21,000 is a lot of money.
And so so there are cities that do paint the boxes. We would still need to enter into agreement with the organizations or the artists. I have seen organizations that call out on the application the different legal verbiage and have that template. It's all included in the call to artists. So we also did look at that. Some organizations, depending on the theme and who's involved, they do offer artist stipends when it is painted on the box, which it could be more cost effective than the wraps, but of course that's at the discretion of City Council. We can amend the policy to include painting if that's what you desire, or just start over.
I'm just looking for ideas, because it's just over commercialized. I mean, I think we even had a staff meeting or a council meeting where it was said, Lowe's would sponsor one and their name would be on the bottom. I thought, that's not really what we want to do.
And just to note for the painting, I'm sorry, Mayor, just to note for the painting, we would also have to approve the paint through our Public Works Department, because I believe it's only paint or oil-based type paints and certain colors that are allowed on the boxes. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Fiddler, but I think there is also criteria with that.
Yeah, that's correct. For my previous agency, we did paint. We painted all the boxes. We included traffic signal boxes, utility boxes, not mailboxes, the we didn't do mailboxes. Newspaper boxes, but with the traffic signal boxes, we have to be careful because they are heat sensitive, and when you do put dark colors, blacks, dark purples, blues, they attract heat, and then the electronic equipment inside starts to overheat. So we do, as part of this process, we will be looking at that as the artwork comes through to make sure there's no dark colors, making sure that they don't cover up locks, hinges, vents, things like that. So.
I kind of like Councilman Leesmeyer's suggestion of keeping it simple, looking for a way to make this thing just a nonprofit, easy thing for kids or something like that. And I almost wonder if maybe just working with Edison boxes only and not trying to mess around with the traffic controllers and all that. And that might just be a barrier for us. And so if we eliminate some of those barriers, we can get to the finish line. So I'm with you. Let's keep it simple and get there and not overcomplicate it with wraps and boxes that are going to be sensitive to heat and all that kind of stuff. Let's avoid the trouble and make it simple. Winners find ways. Let's get this thing done.
I'll have to clarify. Some of the PG&E boxes also have heat sensitive because they do have electronic equipment and things like that. So it's just not a traffic signal box. Most of these boxes do have electronic components in them that require cooling.
So, yeah, I mean, again, as the mayor said, I mean, we can find a way. I mean, these things, those green ones, the new ones now are powder coated. It's significantly thicker than what I'm talking about with some acrylic paint. So I think we just need to figure out how to find a way.
Yep. I do remember at one time we decided let's try and go back to streamlining and move away from the wraps because that was cost prohibitive, and actually just have artists paint on the box or kids paint on the box. And then I think it was Bryce Howell who said we can come back and just clear coat them, and that helps protect them and then make it wash offable if somebody comes and graffitis it or whatever. So I mean, I thought we were kind of heading towards that, and then it changed. So
yes, both materials do have graffiti-proof material they can put over. But yes, we're here for your suggestions and your feedback, and so it's not we can definitely come back with a revised version.
So council members, are we okay with just continuing this item and let staff kind of work through it?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll motion to continue,
Second?
and we don't have a certain date, just,
I won't wait too long.
all right. Thank you, I appreciate the presentation,
Oh,
all the
thank you.
work.
No.
I know you guys put a lot of time into it, so thank you.
No, we really appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, do we need a vote on that, or we just give direction?
I think direction and consensus is
All right, excellent, thank you. So let's move on now. We're on item 12.3. This one is our Congressional District Boundaries Draft Visualization Maps. Mr. City Manager, who's going to present?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and council members. Last item on the agenda, as you know, just like we are going through the process of districting the entire state, the entire U.S. is going through the same process. But one of the items that became a concern to us is the proposed congressional district map that was proposed last week, and we understand that there were some changes, and this is progressing really fast to where changes are being made almost daily. So I'd like to introduce Imelda Huerta to sort of overview this proposal, this latest proposal for you. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, thank you, Mr. City Manager. So as Armando mentioned, there was an update that I was made aware of today. So this is a red folder item. There is a revised map, which I will be overviewing with you all. And just a quick background, following each federal census, the state of California must reestablish the boundaries of its congressional districts, as well as the state Senate, state assembly, and state board of equalization districts to reflect the new population data. Under the First Voters Act, the redistricting process is administered by the Citizens Redistricting Commission. And the goal of the First Voters Act was and is to give power to California citizens to ensure that new and fair political boundaries are drawn without undue influences. So as Armando mentioned, the first two drafts of the visualizations were released, I believe, at the beginning of November. They often do change, and as the commission takes public feedback and refines this map. The official first draft maps were due by November 15th, and the final versions will be adopted by the end of this year. So, and as I mentioned earlier, I was made aware of a revised map, and I did confirm the revised map with our congressman's office. And so here is the map. I circled Menifee at the top. As you can see, we do still, we are with our neighboring cities, Lake Elsinore and Wildemar. And also it goes as far as Idlewild, and it looks like Corona. I have a different view on this slide. Also, I have Menifee circled in the red.
That's
you
better.
can, yes, and this is also in your red, as a red folder in your folders. And just to show you a comparison, you can see the existing District 42 boundaries and then the revised boundaries. We would still remain in the same district, but the boundaries have changed, as you can see.
That's great news.
And I wanted to also show a timeline. As you can see, they need to certify the maps and deliver the report by December 27th. Public comments and input are accepted throughout the process, but it is recommended if we do have comments to submit them by November 23rd. And just wanted to highlight how individuals can participate. They can email Voters First Act at crc.ca.gov. They can go to wedrawthelinesca.org/contact. I also provided the mailing address if anybody would like to submit feedback. There's also an online feedback form and a link to draw your own maps. So tonight's request, staff is requesting direction from City Council as to whether the city will have an official position on the noted map or on congressional redistricting generally, what that position is, and how the city will go about expressing that opinion to the commission. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Huerta, and thank you for the update from today. That's kind of a surprise because we had seen a draft map that was a little different than that. So
yes,
this one might be keeping us very kind of similar to where we have been, which I think we've been comfortable there, I guess is the way to say it. And I guess the question I have is, well, I guess I don't have a question. I'll hold it. Council members, do we have any questions? All right, Madam Clerk, is there any request to speak on this item?
There are no requests to speak.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this item? All right, we'll go ahead and Councilman Leesmeyer, we can open up for discussion.
Great news.
Yeah.
As the mayor was alluding, it's great to see that the changes have been done. I would not support bifurcating our city by any boundary, whether it be congressional, supervisorial, or whatever. We incorporated for local control, and when we start breaking our city apart like that, I think it degrades the local control. So I'm very happy to see that. So thank you for the staff report.
okay, no problem.
And so with that, Councilman Leesmeyer, I like what you just said, and I think it might be good for Madam Clerk for the record to show that it was mentioned by a councilman to have the kind of some extra direction that the city does not want to be fragmented, and we want to remain whole in any representative district. That was said by Councilman Leesmeyer, and I agree with that. The rest of the council, do we all agree with that? The reason I would like the record to show it is because we may need to send letters to some other levels of representation with that message that we want to not be fragmented. So it's good for us to have that, and so thank you for making that, and let the record show that, please. All right, Mayor Pro Tem Sobek.
So is, the request here by staff is what is the position? And I'm wondering if we need to send a letter letting them know our support in a certain map, and maybe even any other jurisdiction in that as well. So when you're talking about other levels of government. So, is that what you're looking for from us?
Yes,
I would highly suggest that we put our letter in what we're favorable for.
So, Ms. Huerta, was there any other maps that are being considered, or is this kind of like the one that they've distilled it down to?
Yes, this is the one. And I
Okay.
did talk to our congressman's office this morning to double check and verify that there were no other maps in play.
All right, very good. So as Mayor Pro Tem is mentioning, we can put together a letter that says we support this latest draft. Excellent. Other discussion, council members? I think we need a motion to
Make a
approve that support letter.
I move that we do that support letter.
All right, so we have a motion.
I'll second.
All right, thank you.
I'm waiting.
I see that passes unanimously. You guys were close to the finish line. Mr. City Attorney,
Thank
do we
you.
have any reports?
No, Mayor.
Okay, in the legal world, thank you. Mr. City Manager, any reports, sir?
Yes, Mayor and councilmembers, I do have a couple of announcements. I just want to remind the council and the community that tomorrow we will be holding the next city manager chat, which is really an opportunity for the community to come out and speak about any issues. We do have a really good program to talk about holiday safety. We do have our police chief that will be talking about some of the things that people can do to protect themselves, especially during the holidays. And also, our fire chief will be talking about some of the safety things that people should be doing, especially as they start to decorate for the holidays and Christmas trees and things like that. So we do want to invite the community to come out tomorrow at the police department, 6 p.m. And there'll be some really good opportunities to express even other issues other than safety issues. And the second announcement is I wanted to show you this award that we received, and I wanted to hold it up for the community. Is we are an award-winning city, and we continue to attract the attention. And this award was given by the Inland Empire Economic Partnership, which is an economic development corporation that really focuses on how cities perform, especially with their economic development. And the reason for that is because of our business retention expansion program that we created as a result of our COVID relief funding. As you know, council approved funding in the amount of almost $415,000 from the CARES Act money that funded about 83 local mom and pop restaurants. We gave them grants up to $5,000 so that they can weather the pandemic effects. And also, we did a lot more than that. We also used them a lot for our meals program. So we were able to save. I think we anticipated that we were going to save some jobs because we didn't want to. The most vulnerable businesses are mom and pops. So we anticipate that we probably saved around 269 jobs. So I just wanted to highlight that. We continue to hit home runs with our economic development department.
I think they deserve a hand.
Yeah. Armando, is that the same award that I saw WRCOG post that the city just received?
I believe it's the same too. And I'd be remiss if I don't mention that this actually was a collaboration of not just the economic development department, but the finance department, and making sure that we expedited those CARES Act monies to the residents in a expeditious time frame. So I want to thank both departments for that.
Today I was on a Zoom with the other mayors for in the League of Cities, and one of the mayors said, "I just want to congratulate the city of Menifee for the award." And I was like, "What award? What?" I was like, "Oh, thank you." And I'm like, "I have no idea what they're talking about."
Bracket of awards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, well done. You guys are making us look good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. All right, council members, any future agenda requests?
I don't have a request, but I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
And because we won't be back till the middle of December.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, that's very good. All right, with that fine message from Mayor Pro Tem, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for being here.